The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
Okay. Well, just for the record, we got the Sunny in Phoenix too. 52 to.
Phoenix Podcast, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. My name is Charlie Erling, and as always, I'm joined by Mitch Krmpotich.
I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Actually not. We're both still feeling kind of crummy. I was foolish enough to go back to the Midwest and see some negative 20-degree stuff, so yeah. Neither of us are 100%, but we'll make it through this episode. No problem.
We will. I feel okay. I feel good, actually. I just have this kind of lingering cough and stuffy nose that's been going for like 2 weeks now. But other than that, I feel normal.
Exactly. I'm in the same boat. So, yeah, we'll just complain about it a little bit. You know how it goes. We're fine. Yeah. This week on the show, though, we'll be talking about the All-Star break that's coming up with featuring no Suns as of now. And then the trade deadline, obviously, a little closer. We'll talk about the latest rumors. After that, a little roster move. And then we'll look at last week's games and this week's upcoming games.
Shout-outs are in order for our bet question from last week. We were guessing Dario Saric assists versus the Raptors. Dario Saric did not live up to his nickname of Magic Johnson. He had 0 assists in that game, so shout out to @SunderusDunks on Twitter, who guessed 1. So he was closest. Shout out to you. Between the two of us, Chuck, you win this one. You said 3, I said 4. The result was 0. So we are now tied 5-5 on the season.
Yep, that was a short-lived era of Dario Magic Johnson Saric.
Yeah. Hopefully we see some more splashes of this, but for now, that was it.
All right, we'll hop into things with the most recent news. The All-Star Game reserves were announced, and there wasn't a Sun in there. Devin Booker is probably considered to be a snub to some. What are your thoughts on it, Mitch?
I see, it's hard. I go back and forth because he has been injured a lot. He's missed, I believe it's 20-something games this season.
Yep.
So that's quite a bit. When you dig a little deeper, Zion has played almost the exact same number of minutes as Booker this season. I think the difference is Zion has been playing recently. Booker was playing earlier in the season. So I'm not, like, do I think he was snubbed? Technically, yes. Am I upset? No, because I kind of have a feeling that by the time all the injuries and stuff are sorted out, he'll probably be an injury substitution. So I'm assuming he's probably going to be there. The other thing that's just kind of troublesome is Jaren Jackson Jr. Between his injuries and not great numbers, I just don't understand the reasoning there.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert has made a couple All-Star games, right? Or am I dreaming that? He's made a couple.
Yeah, he has.
So defense gets in sometimes, even though, I don't know, not the kind of guys that I want to watch play the All-Star game.
Right.
But maybe deserving of it when you go look at those defensive numbers if their statisticians didn't flub those too hard. That was kind of a funny ordeal that went on, in case you missed that. There was a post on Reddit detailing the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. gets way more blocks and steals at home with the Grizzlies statistician compared to away games, and showed some examples of that. And, it was pretty convincing. I will admit it. It was, you got to question what's going on there when you look at all that. But I don't know if it's truly a huge deal, but just kind of funny seeing him get in the All-Star game after that. And then if you want to complain about Booker not making it, I think you can point at Paul George.
Paul George, too, yeah.
He's, played more games than Booker this season. Not by a ton, I don't think, but I mean, the numbers are pretty similar. He's not getting as many points per game as Book, but getting an extra rebound or two. Book's doing it a little more efficiently too. But, I don't know. Booker's not, he's been having a rough time with that groin, obviously. We all know the yearly hamstring injuries too. I'm not going to be mad if he isn't there, as much as I'd like to have him have that on his resume when he's up for the Hall of Fame someday. Missing All-Star games kind of stinks, and then even if it does come down, we're talking injury replacements, there's still Fox on the Kings, Anthony Edwards on the Timberwolves, who are also pretty deserving. A lot of guys are making noise about them being snubbed.
That's true. Anthony Edwards especially has been so good. He has been amazing this year.
And I don't think he's missed a game.
So he probably is higher up on the list. But I'm with you. Like, it's not going to be super upsetting if he's not there. I don't even think he's going to be that upset about it. He's been there before, and it'll be fine. He'll be an all-star in the future. This is just kind of a strange season for him so far. So,
right. And for the Suns as a whole,
that's
honestly.
True.
Yeah. Weird year overall. So, yeah, I don't think either of us are going to be too upset about Booker not making it overall. So, you shouldn't be either. It's fine.
No. And we know it's an evolving process. They used to rely a lot more on the fan vote, and they realized that that's probably not a good idea. But that's only like a recent change. So, it's one of those things that no one is ever going to be happy with the way it works, and they try to just do the best they can. But someone's always going to be left out. Someone is always going to be sore about it. I mean, from the fan perspective, like, there's no way to make every team's fans happy. So they do their best, I guess. And what can you do?
Yeah, I mean,
we have bigger goals anyway.
That's true. And if Zion and Booker have missed the same amount of games this year, but he gets in due to the fan vote and a starter, I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I wonder where he would have landed had he not been a starter. Had he, missing the same amount of games as Booker, would he be getting those votes to get in as a reserve? That'd be...
Yeah, no.
That'd be something.
It would. I don't know. I mean, we also know that a lot of this is a popularity contest. I mean, there are going to be certain guys that always get a lot of votes. Like Klay Thompson is probably a good example. I bet he got quite a few fan votes, but like, he hasn't played very much this season. He hasn't been nearly as good as he's been in the past, but he's someone who will always get a lot of votes. So
true. Yep.
That's part of the deal.
Yep, that's the way it goes. Okay, so before the All-Star game, we're going to be hitting the trade deadline. And we've seen plenty of Suns news caught up in the old trade block. So let's just start with what we've heard and the newest updates on it. And obviously, we'll start things off with Jae Crowder. And honestly, haven't seen a ton about him other than the connections to Milwaukee over the last week or so. And if this doesn't go down, there's now some news that the Suns could consider just buying him out. as we get closer to there. So I don't want to see that happen personally. I think this has been going on this long. I don't want Jae Crowder to win too big in a situation by just buying him out. If we can't get anything in return, I'd actually be pretty surprised.
I would too. I mean, I think we would even take a second round pick or two over a buyout. So I doubt it will get to the point of buyout. Someone will want him, and I just have a feeling it's going to get done. I mean, at time of recording, the trade deadline is less than a week away, 6 days away. So be on the lookout. Something's going to happen in the next few days, I think.
Yeah, and just another point that makes the Jae Crowder thing a little more interesting is there was a tweet that an anonymous GM said that he doubts anyone who scores more than 12 points per game will be traded at the deadline. And if you just look around the league, you see all these teams hovering around 500, fighting for a playoff spot, not wanting to sell, looking to buy. So I'd say this year, more than other years, there's more buyers than sellers. So I can see the trade market being a little tough, but there's been a lot of juice going around with the Raptors and OG. Apparently there's a bidding war happening for him right now. I could see some guys getting traded, but if there really isn't a guy who scores more than 12 per game get traded by the deadline, I'd also be shocked about that.
I would too. Yeah, the OG situation is interesting because we know he's good, but I'm a bit nervous about what we would be giving up for him. I also think there's just some kind of like emotional stuff that goes into that, like Cam Johnson, for instance. You know, we've heard there might be some interest for Cam Johnson involving that OG Anunoby trade. I would just be crushed if we traded Cam Johnson, but I also understand that his contract is a part of that and that there could be a business decision, and he just had this surgery and he has looked good. He's had a down game or two, but he's looked good since coming back, and it would be so painful for me if that happened, but it might be the right move.
Yeah, and you think about it, a new owner coming in, but still the same GM who drafted him, who seems to like him quite a bit. I think if it were up to James Jones by the trade extension deadline, I think we probably would have got a deal made with Cam if it were solely up to him and Sarver wasn't involved in that.
That's a good point too.
But the main thing is what the new owner says. If Ishbia says we're not going to extend this guy, he's not a part of the future, then yes, he's obviously going to be a trade asset for us right now. And if we're talking OG, I'm fine trading Cam Johnson for OG as long as it doesn't involve more than one future first-round pick.
Yeah.
Because we've seen up to 3 for OG, right. Not with Cam Johnson included.
Yeah, no way. I don't even want to do 3 first-round picks for OG, and that's it. I mean, I think that's
salary fill. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 3 is too much. Is OG that good? Does he warrant 3 first-round picks? I mean, I know the draft is the draft, and it can be unpredictable, but that just seems like too much.
Yeah, and then the 3 in pick swaps for Gobert seemed pretty wild at the time, too, for a defensive player, and that's what OG is. He's one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best perimeter defender right now. Mm-hmm. He has that going for him, but as a scorer, something that the Suns are lacking, he has a lot of holes. There was a series of tweets, I can't recall who from, but it broke down where OG lands in the league for a lot of different shooting occurrences, like drives, spot up 2s, spot up 3s, catch and shoot, all of this. And he was down near the bottom of the league in a lot of those, which is surprising. I thought he was little more dependable than that, but you just see a lot of those stats and you're thinking, okay, he's a defender that can score, but I mean, is that not what Mikal Bridges is right now?
Right.
And if we're going to trade for a guy, he's a better Torrey Craig.
Okay, yeah.
Is that what we need? I don't think so.
I don't either. And I saw a James Jones quote recently when asked what the team is trying to add at the trade deadline. He said shooting, which is, of course, is a very James Jones answer. I mean, he would probably say that always. But yeah, OG does not seem to fit that. So, I mean, yeah, you'll take another great defender, and he is a great player. I'm not trying to downplay that. It just doesn't necessarily seem to be the fit that we're looking for. But, you know, it's like you said, it's going to be up to the owner. And we really have no idea what to expect there.
Yeah, we don't. And if we're talking about shooting, let's talk about the other two guys in trade talks for the Raptors. Fred VanVleet, who was linked to the Suns, a week or two ago maybe. And then even Pascal Siakam might be up on the trade block as well. Both of them are guys who can shoot. Obviously, VanVleet is having a down year when it comes to his efficiency, but I mean, do either of those guys get you real excited?
Siakam does. Yeah. I mean, that might be one where Raptors fans would probably be like, this guy's out of his mind. But Cam Johnson and 3 first-round picks for Siakam, that would be – I would be down with that. That probably is a little bit too little to make that happen, especially if we're talking about 3 first-round picks for OG. But Siakam, yes. Fred VanVleet, not so much. I know we need help. I know Chris Paul isn't what he used to be, but I don't know. Just looking at the future, I don't know how much of an upgrade Fred VanVleet really is.
Right. I mean, ask me about Fred VanVleet after Chris Paul is gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Until then, that's too much 6-foot point guard for one team.
Yes, I agree. I would like to go with, someone who's a little bit bigger. We're seeing this influx of, a little bit bigger guys who can still pass well but can shoot. And I mean, I know Fred VanVleet is good, but I would like to maybe go in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, and with Siakam, I think Ayton would have to be involved in that to.
Sure, you're probably right.
To make that swing, and I don't know if I even want that, to be honest. You can call me an Ayton lover, homer, whatever. I remember what he did in the playoffs a couple years ago in the finals and all that. And if it weren't for him, while our team was looking at its best, we would have been getting smacked around by teams if Ayton wasn't shooting 70% for 20 and 10 a game. We would have been getting smacked.
That is true.
I do like Siakam. I'm not discounting him, but I don't know. If I ran the team, I'd just be willing to be a little more patient on some guys than a lot of other Suns fans would be, it appears.
Yeah, well, and I think it's tough. Ayton gets a lot of hate online, but he is very good. I mean, we talked about this last week where in a bad game, I mean, Ayton had a bad game, and he had 19 points and 20 rebounds. And that was a bad game for him. Like, he easily could have had like 35 and 20 in that game, but his shooting was off. That goes to show how good Ayton is. And sure, he doesn't chase down every loose ball, and we've seen some issues with effort, but like, even given all of that, he is very good. So, yeah, that's tough. I mean, Siakam is awesome, but then it's like, what do we do from there? If we have no Ayton, we're starting Bismack Biyombo for the rest of the season and running, if Cam Johnson is involved in that too, running Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Pascal Siakam, and Bismack Biyombo.
I think we'd probably still start Torrey Craig at the 4 and Siakam.
Or Torrey Craig and Siakam at the 5.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I just don't know. The Raptors, it seems like they want to tear things down a little bit because they have the worst roster construction in the league, if you ask me.
Really?
They have like 8 power forward centers.
Oh, I don't know why, but I thought you said Grizzlies. But I'm sure we'll get to that.
I mean Raptors. Sorry.
Yes. No, I think I just misunderstood. But Raptors, yes. I mean, they are. It's strange.
It is. Yeah. I don't know what to say about them, but that will be the one team that I would put money on looks pretty different after this trade deadline.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. I still think we're going to make some moves. I think something is going to happen. Even if it's a little bit underwhelming, I think something's going to happen.
I think so too. And here, I'll tie in the next little segment we have with this because I just think there might be something here. The Suns signed Saben Lee to a contract and waived Dwayne Washington Jr. So, while we're still talking about trades, Cam Payne has been out quite a while after re-aggravating his foot. Has it been too long? Is he involved in a trade, possibly? Or are we that confident in Saben Lee that we can maybe think that him and Chris can get us through until a trade is made? I don't know. I'm just surprised with this whole situation. Saban has been solid for us, though, so I'm not trying to throw him under the bus or anything. But
so, yeah, I looked into this a little bit with the whole G League thing, and I realized it's not about how many games you play on the two-way contract. It's how many games you're active for. And you get 50. So Dwayne Washington Jr. had like 5 games left to be active. So I think that's why we waived him and then signed Saben Lee. And I believe his two-way contract is prorated with that number of active games based on the time he was signed. So he probably won't be able to be active for every game for the rest of the season, but we have a lot more time with him. So I'm sure we probably could have signed Dwayne Washington Jr. to like a guaranteed contract to keep him around, but it didn't seem like we wanted to do that, so we went with Saben Lee on the two-way, which I think is probably smart.
Yep, I like the sounds of that, and not filling our roster and leaving a spot open makes me hopeful that, something's going to go down at the deadline. Yes. It's not... I don't know if Robert Sarver at this point still has the control to say, I don't want a full roster because I don't want to pay another guy $1 million. So I wonder if like the financial thing doesn't have anything to do with it. And we're just leaving that spot open for a trade. We'll see, though.
We will. Well, and the campaign thing is interesting because he hasn't played in quite a while. He was looking better. He was looking okay. Then he slowed down a little bit. Then he was looking okay. Then he was hurt, came back for a little bit. And then he's had this real sustained injury for the last month or so. So I don't know. Like, I have no idea what we would even get for him in a trade. Like cash, maybe?
Well, I look back to the Raptors. If this could possibly be part of a Raptor deal because...
Just another piece, yeah.
They have Fred VanVleet. And then I think their backup point guard, Malachi Flynn, would technically be the...
Okay, so
there's no one there to play point guard.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be part of this whole puzzle. Who knows, though? That's just speculation on mine.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. Yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen there.
You know what? Though I'm missing Cam Payne's pace that he brings to the bench unit, and even when he's playing with Book and the guys, we're missing that because Chris Paul, it's still slow pace with him. And it seems like we're when we're running up and down the court a little more, we've been a little more successful this year.
Yes. I think that's another thing that I'm excited for about the post Chris Paul future is getting back to playing faster again. I mean, I know Chris Paul has made a very successful career out of his style, but I'm ready to get back with the faster pace.
I'm ready for that, and if we do something crazy like trade Ayton, it might be gone, but I want to see a Booker Ayton led team. Yeah. I wonder if Ayton loses his interest a little bit because, man, I don't know. We have been feeding him the ball quite a bit lately, but it's apparent that Ayton does not love playing with Chris Paul most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
That's a scary gamble to take, though. I mean, we signed him to all this money, and you don't want to have to question a guy making that much money, that portion of your salary cap. But
right.
I don't know. There's something there. Ayton's such a good athlete and has such good touch. I just want to keep him around.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that's interesting is apparently it was pretty close to happening in the offseason, an Ayton trade to Toronto. And for whatever reason, it fell through at the end. But that was interesting when that came out, too. But again, I mean, we have to understand these teams are playing mind games. That could be a story that was released to be a bit of a smokescreen or who knows. But we did find that out recently.
Yep, 1,000%. Okay, let's move it on, and we'll just go quickly through these last week's games. We split the last 4 since our last recording. Took a loss to the Mavericks, then had back-to-back wins over the Spurs and Raptors, and then a tough one last night against the Hawks, lost by 32. Yeah. But let's we'll start with that Dallas game. Luka goes down very early, only plays 3 minutes. Kind of feels like the Suns should have it in the bag after that, but we just really fell flat after that, and Spencer Dinwiddie just tore us apart.
I don't understand because he has been like awful this year, but not against us.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, he's just a Suns killer, like Ish Smith and Thomas Bryant.
Oh, I'll never forget that perfect game from Thomas Bryant. Okay, but
that was wild.
As for the Suns, we'll take some positives away here. Cam Johnson, was this his first game back or one of his first games back?
It was one of the first ones. I don't think it was his first game back, but
yeah, no, it wasn't. He played 33 minutes, goes for 22 points, 5 for 7 from downtown, 8 rebounds, and if you look at that stat line, 22 and 8. And you say that's your power forward. I'm going to say, oh, yeah. I like that a lot. If Cam Johnson could grab 8 rebounds every game, that would be incredible.
It would, yeah. Starters were pretty good, outside of Torrey Craig, but we don't expect Torrey Craig to do a whole heck of a lot. The issue really was the bench. I mean, the bench scored, I'm doing the math quickly in my head, 11 points.
Yeah.
And Monty kind of laid into them. But you can't have that. And I mean, Damian Lee didn't attempt a shot. He played 18 minutes, didn't attempt a shot. I mean, you're going to lose games when the guy who comes off your bench and plays the most minutes doesn't even take one shot and has 0 points. That's not good.
One positive from this game was we actually played an entire lineup of players because we're that healthy now.
Yes.
We played 13 guys in this game, and that was not the case a couple weeks ago when we only had like 8 or 9 available.
Yeah.
So as poor as they played, it's nice to see that the health is coming back. We'll just take that as one of the silver linings. And this was the 19-point, 20 rebound game from Ayton where he played poorly.
Yes.
6 for 20 from the floor. That's not going to happen very often. I'd wager. That has to be one of his worst shooting games of his career, if I had to guess, too.
Mm-hmm.
But 7 for 10 from the line. 10 free throws is a ton for DA.
It is. That might be a career high, even. I think this game, too, my big takeaway is that we're pretty average, and so is Dallas. I think we had the same record. I think we were both 500 at the time of this game, or maybe one game over. But it's just funny. I think after this week, we've really hit an equilibrium, because 2 weeks ago, the title of our episode was, "Is it time for the Suns to blow it up?" Last week, the title of our episode was, "Are the Suns the best team in the NBA?" And this week, I think we're pretty average. And maybe the title will be "The Suns are pretty average."
Let's go with that, because that fits. You go
we'll
500 over the week.
This.
500, that means we're average, 2-2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll move it on to the next one. Another Texas opponent. We get the San Antonio Spurs, and it takes overtime to beat them. 128-118. Nice to see the team just say, okay, that's enough, and outscore them by 10 in that 5-minute overtime.
Yes, that was nice. Blew a big lead, like we do, against a probably the worst team in the NBA right now. Or, well, arguably,
one of them.
Between Detroit and Houston and San Antonio. But, terrible team during the whole NBA rivalry week. Should have been a cakewalk. It was for a little bit, but we let them slither back in. And I'm just glad Mikal took over and sealed it in overtime.
Yep, that was fun. It was like Mikal is the one who has enough energy to lead us to this W, because he's used to playing 41 minutes in a game.
That's
it's
true.
No big deal.
Yeah.
He finishes with 25 points on 10 for 18 shooting. And like a couple of weeks ago in our Are the Suns the Worst Team in the NBA, Should They Blow It Up episode, we criticized Mikal about not consistently carrying the load for the team as much as we'd hoped he would. But since then, I mean, he's scoring 20 most nights and still keeping up the high-level defense. And, man, he's just been huge for us. So
He has. Yeah, he's been great.
And, I remember, was it last year I think it was last year in a game against the Cavs where he just absolutely took over an overtime period as well. I think he scored 8 or 10 in it or something like that. It's nice to have a guy like that, especially while Booker's waiting on the bench.
Yeah, and then Chris Paul looked, totally back to form in this one. 31 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 12 for 20 shooting. That's very good numbers for Chris Paul, so we'll definitely take that.
Oh, it's crazy when Chris plays like this, because it feels like we're legit. It feels really good. It feels like we're on our way back for a deep playoff run, and then you get reminded in the Suns versus Hawks game where he just didn't do much at all. Like, he didn't even want to shoot. While in this one, he puts up 20 shots, goes for 31 points with 11 assists and 7 boards.
Yep. So, I mean, he is, I think, getting back to his usual. Still a little bit up and down, but the last few games we've seen more consistent numbers, especially those assist numbers, going back to right around 10 a game. So that's really nice.
For sure. It just makes me think, man, I hope he is fresh when we do get to the playoffs. But we will see. Okay, moving on to the next one against the Toronto Raptors. Final score 114-106. Nice W here. Mikal leads the way again. 29 points, 6 assists, 12 for 19 shooting. And I believe he had, 16 in the first quarter in this game?
Yeah. So
man,
that's like Booker style.
Right. That's more than what Booker normally
That's
does.
true.
I think it's like 10 or 12 from Book in a first quarter usually, but Mikal really got after it.
And he was just hitting a bunch of threes all in a row. He was 3 for 4, and I think all 3 of his makes came in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Let him know bright and early. and it's going to be a long one. Yeah, that was great though, and 8-2, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 9 for 17 shooting. 9 for 17 shooting isn't good for DeAndre Ayton, but overall, pretty nice night.
Yeah. And then we had a bad third quarter, but that was about it. Pretty much held the lead the whole time. The Raptors bench was awful. Combined for 11 points. Oh, sorry, 15 points. Still bad. So, yeah, it's like you said, they just have an extremely strange roster. And they're dealing with some injuries as well. So, just a very, very odd team right now.
Yep, they were without OG for this one, and we saw. This was when did VanVleet put a pic on Instagram of him and Booker talking after the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's round it out with the tough one. This was the night before we're recording this episode, so it's still fresh in our minds, but I don't think we want to talk about it too much. No. The Hawks were hot. 19 for 33 from downtown. Shot better from downtown than their overall field goal percentage.
Yep.
Yikes.
I believe we made 4 threes in this game.
4 for 28.
I saw a stat that the Hawks made the most threes they've made in a game all season, and we made the least. This was a good game to turn off at halftime.
Yeah, I can admit this one was not the closest game of games that I've watched this year. The mind was definitely wandering at points through this one. Let me just look at the stat line, see a good takeaway. First thing that jumps off, 10 for 10 from the free throw line for McHale. That's a lot of free throws. 6 for 18 from the floor, 1 for 7 from downtown. That's rough, but a good sign overall. When the shot's not working, try to get to the line, and he took advantage of that at least. So there's my good takeaway.
Yeah, and Ayton had a good game. 20 points, 9 for 12 shooting, 9 rebounds. That's pretty much what we asked for from Ayton. Aside from that, we were pretty darn awful. Chris Paul, 3 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. 1 for 6 shooting. Cam Johnson, 6 points, 1 rebound.
And this was one of the limited minutes nights for Cam that are apparently still happening. So, and who knows if he gets off to a little better of a start. Does that 15 turn into 20? Who knows? But
right.
It's fine. This was pretty apparent it was going to be a loss after that second quarter or midway through that second quarter. So I don't mind that situation. But just shout out DA going up against Capella.
Yeah.
And, going efficient like that. You got to love to see that.
You do. And speaking of things you love to see, Frank Kaminsky saw the court for 5 minutes. So I don't know if any of us were watching at that point, but he did play for 5 minutes. So glad to see he's still in the league.
Yeah, apparently they were all catching up in the Suns locker room after the game. Frank came by, and then Dario told him to get out of here or something like that. Or what are you doing here? Or something along those lines. That's pretty funny. I'm sure all those guys just love Frank and miss him. And I'm sure Frank misses the vibes of, peak Phoenix Suns basketball here.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Kaminsky is Phoenix. Beyond the Suns. He is just Phoenix. He's from Wisconsin. Perfect. He comes here. He's got the right attitude. He was just beloved by all. I think my parents and my sister saw him at Nordstrom once. So
I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that.
And he probably was loving it.
He was like the typical snowbird that comes down and just can't believe how beautiful and lovely Arizona is.
Exactly.
It's just kind of infectious,
Totally. I absolutely believe he's the kind of guy who would go into the locker room and just say, it feels like I'm on vacation.
Oh, that got me good. And when like CP3 and Booker are wearing up the beanies and the tri-roll beanies, like
Exactly.
Frank's coming in a pair of cargo shorts and a button-up, you know.
Yep. Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Feels like I'm on vacation. Can you guys believe it's 70 degrees in February?
Yeah, he wears his going to town shirt to the arena.
Oh yeah, he does. That's absolutely right. Yep. I miss him.
Yeah. We need another Midwest boy back on the team.
We really do.
Are there any? I think Dwayne Washington was from Ohio. That might be the closest we can get.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think we are missing a little bit of that this year.
Oh, there's not many Midwestern boys in the NBA. You know who we should get?
Who?
The king of Las Vegas.
Oh, Jack
Cooley.
Cooley. Isn't Jack Cooley still playing in Japan? Or I don't know if he even made it in the Japanese league. But he had been for a while. I know he was very good over there. I just don't know if he's still at it.
I bet Jack Cooley versus Allen Williams just fills arenas all over Asia, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to travel for that one.
That's right. Okay. So this week we got 4 games before our next episode will come out, so we'll briefly hit on these. But, you know, the first 2 games, Boston and Detroit, we're playing Boston yesterday when you hear this, and we're playing Detroit today when you hear this. So we're not going to dive into those too deep. But then after that, we have Brooklyn on Tuesday and the Hawks on Thursday. What do we got there?
Yeah, Brooklyn, we heard Devin Booker may be returning in this game. No need to rush him back, but I would love to see him on the court again. And we will definitely need him against Brooklyn, so I'm really hoping that Devin Booker is there. And then the Hawks game is our bet question, actually. So our question this week is, how many threes will the team make? Will the Suns make in this game? Hopefully more than 4. But I believe it's your turn to go first.
I'm going to go with lucky 13.
13. Okay. I am going to go 11. So let us know on Twitter at Sunny and PHX Pod, through email, sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com, or on YouTube, Sunny and PHX Podcast in the comment section, how many made threes you think the Suns will have in Thursday's game against the Hawks.
I see you going for those 11 made threes to get you a free cowboy cheeseburger from Carl's Jr. With the purchase of a fountain drink.
What? You know what? I have never... Oh, actually, I take that back. I have used that coupon at the arena before. Back when we had season tickets. They would just hand those out after, like, every game.
Yeah.
So I would take advantage of that because I was still in school. I was in grad school when we were doing that. So that was actually kind of nice. Will I ever do that again? Probably not. Because, as I get older, when I eat stuff like that, it makes me feel like I'm going to die.
You can tell exactly where the food is within your body after you swallow it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That type of situation.
Exactly. Yeah, because I can relate. Yeah. I was listening to All Fantasy Everything earlier today, and they were talking about how when they were younger, and even when they had first started their show, they would talk about going out and being wild and drinking and all this. And now they're saying, ooh, I would love to drink a milkshake, but I just don't think I can handle the consequences. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think I can still handle a milkshake, but, you know, it's when you change what you eat and start eating like real food, you start to see how awful the fast food is.
Oh, and I mean, even I'll just stay on the dairy subject here. When I was back in South Dakota, my mother-in-law, we had a good chunk of the nieces and nephews all staying with us out at their place. and it was pretty late, and they wanted ice cream. And my mother-in-law, who is just a whiz in the kitchen, starts making homemade ice cream. It was like 10:30 or something like that by the time it came out, and she was offering it up, and there was a good 2 minutes of consideration there from me where I was like, if I eat a bowl of ice cream right now, is this going to be good in the short term and or long term, or should I stay away from this?
Yeah.
So I ended up splitting a bowl with my wife. And
there you go. Yeah.
I lived.
That's good. Yeah, because it's like, that sounds amazing. I bet it was delicious.
Oh, yeah.
But is it worth the acid reflux?
I made it just fine. I'm here today.
Good. Okay, good. So it was worth it. I know we're moving to non-sports territory, but while we're on the topic, I want to shout out something I made the other night. Just frozen rockfish from Costco. Cook that up in a pan. We had gotten some real nice tomatoes from a farmer's market. Dice those up, slice some onions, cook all that in the pan too. Add some lemon. My in-laws their neighbor has a big lemon tree that overflows into their yard, and the neighbor just said, anything that's in your yard, pick it, it's all yours. I mean, there's hundreds of lemons on this tree. So we got a big bag of lemons. So I cut a few of those up and then threw in some garlic and some butter. It was amazing. So
can't go wrong
with
that.
Good for you, but it was just like, it really came out nicely, got the spices just right, I think. So just want to put that out there too. If you're looking for the recipe, tweet at us. I'll see if I can remember exactly what I did. Anyway, full on non-sports question here is, what is a food combination that people like that you don't understand?
So the opposite of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, exact opposite.
I want to eat some nice fish right now, but okay. So the one that has stuck out to me, it's something that people in Nebraska do. And when they eat chili, they have a cinnamon roll with it. And that it bothers me to an extent where that is not something that I would consider trying together. Seems like two polar opposites that wouldn't benefit from being opposite.
I'm more of a cornbread guy when it comes to chili.
100%.
I mean, I don't think I am as opposed to a cinnamon roll, but I can't tell you the last time I ate a whole cinnamon roll. I have a hard time eating a whole thing like that, So I've heard that. I have heard the whole cinnamon roll and chili thing, but I can't say I've ever done it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever try, and I'm sorry to the entire state of Nebraska, but I think that's pretty wild that you guys do that.
Yeah. Nebraska, they do some strange things out there in Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, once you get south of South Dakota, in the middle of the country there, it gets pretty crazy.
It does. Those people have a lot of time on their hands or something.
Have you ever been to Kansas?
I used to live in Kansas. Well, no, technically we lived on the border of Kansas and Missouri, but I was also like 2 years old, so I don't remember it.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So technically I've been there. I have no memory of it. Yeah. My dad did his fellowship at the University of Kansas, though.
Rock chalk.
So, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having a heck of a time coming up with an answer to this one. And I think it's hard because I'm just like, I'm not picky at all. Like, yeah, sure, like I said, there's some stuff that I have to avoid a little bit nowadays because I just can't handle it like I used to. But I'm pretty much willing to try anything. Oh, actually, no, I thought of one. This is also, maybe this is like a Midwestern thing, but a lot of people like to put mustard on ham. I can't do it.
What kind of ham are we talking?
Just like a, bone-in ham that you slice. People will put mustard on that. I have an uncle who does that.
Just plain yellow mustard
on mustard. Yeah. I've seen that combo before, and not a fan.
Oh, that's pretty weird.
It is weird.
I've heard of using mustard in rubs.
That's fine. That's a whole different thing. If it's part of a rub with spices and all that, yeah, that's fine. But
I remember being caught off guard by some of the uses of mustard like that when I first discovered that. But no, that does make sense. But
yes,
like eating hot ham with mustard seems pretty wild.
Not good. Yeah, I have come around to yellow mustard on certain things, but I only really like it on certain stuff. I mean, it's great on like a hot dog. I'm usually not going yellow mustard on a sandwich. If I'm doing mustard, it's usually more like a spicy brown mustard, or we actually bought this horseradish mustard the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Really good. Yeah, really good.
So, I like that with sausages, like smoked sausage.
That's exactly what we did. So, I'm not usually opting for yellow mustard because I think there's just better options. But, it's got a place in certain things. I mean, you go to a baseball game and get a just plain old hot dog, yellow mustard is the best. I also like a little onion on there. If they have sauerkraut, even better. But, the yellow mustard on a lot of stuff, I guess, is not my favorite combo.
And keep ketchup off my hot dogs, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not a ketchup guy either.
Here's another. Sweet.
Yeah, this is another combo actually that I'm just thinking of. The mayo and mustard combo. Don't like it.
I was just gonna say I do like that on a cold meat sandwich.
Nope, I do not. It's one or the other for me, and I'm usually going mayo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's that was one of my more recent sandwich findings that I just absolutely love, is a nice little mix of those two.
No, I do not like it. Yeah.
And anyone who talks smack about mayonnaise can just kick rocks,
I agree.
It's so good.
It is. And I mean, you got to have the right amount. Too much of anything is a problem.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
I like mayo, but too much ruins it. So
100%.
I can understand not liking too much, but a little bit just to moisten things up. And I know that probably just feeds into why people don't like it, but you need it. It's a nice little addition.
Yeah. That's where we're going to end the show as well. We thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sunny and Phoenix podcast. Hit us up on Twitter at Sunny and PHX Pod. Check out our YouTube, Sunny and PHX Podcast, or email us at sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with another one. Go Suns.